That woman was laughing with her friends. Remember that clueless wife? Yeah, that's her. I always thought my marriage was solid. We weren't perfect, but we had history. 10 years together, 2 kids, and what I assumed was mutual respect. I never imagined I would be the wife people whispered about, the clueless one who had no idea what was happening right under her nose. But there I was, walking into a cafe for my usual coffee, only to overhear my entire life being turned into a joke. It had been a long day. Work was stressful, the kids had been cranky all morning, and I just wanted a moment of peace. The cafe was my little escape, a place where I could sit for 5 minutes, sip my latte, and pretend I had it all together. I had been coming here for years, always ordering the same thing, always taking the same spot near the window. It was a small ritual that gave me comfort. As I stood in line waiting for my order, I heard laughter from a table nearby. It was loud, carefree, the kind of laughter that pulls your attention even when you don't want it to. I glanced over and saw a group of women sitting together, drinks in hand, deep in conversation. I didn't recognize them at first, but then I saw her. Lisa. Lisa had always been around. She was one of those women who seemed to know everyone, always at social gatherings, effortlessly charming. She was beautiful in that effortless way, always put together, always knowing just the right thing to say. I never paid her much attention beyond polite small talk. She wasn't a close friend, just another familiar face in our town. I didn't expect her to know who I was, much less talk about me. But then I heard her next words and my stomach dropped. God, remember that clueless wife? Yeah, that's her. She cackled, nudging the woman next to her. The others burst out laughing, their faces lighting up with amusement. I felt the blood drain from my face. They were looking right at me. For a second, I thought maybe I had misheard. Maybe it was about someone else. But then Lisa kept talking, her voice dripping with mockery. She had no idea. He would leave our bed in the morning and go home to her like nothing happened. My heart started pounding in my chest. My mind couldn't keep up with what I was hearing. My husband. She was talking about my husband. I stood there, frozen, every nerve in my body screaming at me to do something, say something, but I couldn't. It was like the world had slowed down around me, like I had stepped into a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. The women kept talking, unaware, or maybe uncaring, that I was right there. Honestly, it was pathetic. He'd tell me he was stuck in a loveless marriage and that she was too stupid to notice. Lisa rolled her eyes, sipping her drink as if she wasn't actively destroying someone's world in that moment. I gripped the counter, my nails digging into my palms so hard it hurt. My mind replayed every moment in my marriage, looking for the cracks I had missed. The late nights at work, the weekends when he said he needed space, the times he came home smelling of perfume I didn't wear. I had asked him about it once, half joking, and he had laughed it off. "You're being paranoid," he had said, kissing my forehead, and I had believed him. How long had this been going on? How many times had he laid next to me in bed, looking me in the eye, telling me he loved me, while sneaking off to be with her? I wanted to storm over there, demand answers, make her repeat every word until it made sense, but I couldn't move. My feet felt rooted to the ground, my entire body frozen in place as their laughter echoed in my ears. Lisa continued as if she wasn't talking about a real person's life. She even bought his lies. Can you believe that? He told me he'd leave her soon. I knew he wouldn't, but it was fun to play along. The cafe around me blurred, my vision tunneled in on the women at the table, my breathing uneven. This wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. I was a joke to them, a pathetic punchline to their twisted little story. I didn't wait for my coffee. I turned and walked straight out of the cafe, barely aware of where I was going. My legs carried me on autopilot, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear my own thoughts. By the time I got home, I had already started digging. Bank statements, phone records, anything that could confirm what I had just heard. And the deeper I looked, the worse it got. Charges at hotels I had never been to, gifts I had never received, late night calls to a number I didn't recognize. I had always trusted him blindly, never questioning where he went or what he did. I thought that was love, giving someone the benefit of the doubt. But love doesn't mean ignoring the warning signs. Love doesn't mean letting someone make a fool of you. I sat in front of my laptop, staring at the proof of my husband's double life, the betrayal, the deceit, the blatant disregard for me, our marriage, our children. I felt sick. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over his name. I wanted to call him, confront him, scream at him. But what would that change? He would lie. He would twist the story, gaslight me like he always had. No. If he thought I was clueless, I would let him believe that, just for a little while longer. because now I had the upper hand. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in bed, phone in hand, scrolling through every bank statement, every phone record, every scrap of evidence I could find. The proof was overwhelming. My husband had been cheating on me for months, maybe longer. And Lisa, the woman who had laughed about it over cocktails, had been his mistress. I thought about waking him up, shoving the evidence in his face and watching him squirm, but I knew how that would go. He would deny it at first, act offended, then slowly twist the narrative until somehow I was the unreasonable one. He had a way of making me doubt my own reality, of making me feel like I was overreacting even when the truth was staring me in the face. So I did nothing. Not yet. The next morning, I went through my usual routine. I got the kids ready for school, packed their lunches, kissed them goodbye as they climbed onto the bus. I moved through the motions like a ghost, my body running on autopilot while my mind raced. My husband, oblivious to what I knew, sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone as he sipped his coffee. Big plans today? He asked casually, like nothing had changed. I forced a smile. Just errands, I said, keeping my voice light. If he noticed anything different about me, he didn't say. He kissed me on the cheek before heading out the door, like he did every morning, and just like that, he was gone, probably off to see her. I felt sick. I needed more proof, more leverage, something that would destroy any excuse he could come up with when I finally confronted him. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. I waited 10 minutes after he left, then grabbed my keys and got into my car. My hands were shaking as I pulled out of the driveway. This wasn't me. I wasn't the type to snoop, to spy, but I also wasn't the type to be humiliated by my husband's mistress in a crowded cafe. I trailed him across town, keeping a few cars behind. He wasn't heading to work. He was going in the opposite direction. My heart pounded as I watched him pull into a small, upscale apartment complex. I parked down the street far enough that he wouldn't notice me. I saw him get out of his car, glance around like he was checking for something or someone, and then walk toward the entrance. A few moments later, the door opened, and there she was, Lisa, standing in the doorway in leggings and an oversized sweater like she had just rolled out of bed. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She smiled at him, leaning against the doorframe as they exchanged a few words. Then she pulled him inside, the door shutting behind them. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Even though I had known, even though I had seen the proof with my own eyes, watching it happen in real time was different. It made it real. I sat there for what felt like forever, my mind spinning. What was I supposed to do? Storm inside and make a scene? Confront them both right here and now? No. That's what they expected me to do. That's what Lisa wanted. To watch me lose control, to watch me unravel. Not happening. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. If they were going to make a fool out of me, I would make sure they paid for it. I snapped a few photos. My husband walking up to the door, Lisa greeting him, the two of them disappearing inside. Solid proof. Then I opened my messages and typed out a quick text to my best friend Megan. Me. I have something to tell you. I need your help. She responded almost immediately. Megan, what's wrong? Are you okay? No, I wasn't okay, but I would be. I put my phone down, my hands still shaking, and stared at the apartment building. I wasn't ready to confront him yet, not until I had everything lined up, but I wasn't going to sit around and wait for him to decide when to come clean. If my husband wanted to live a double life, I was about to make sure he lost everything in the process. Megan didn't even hesitate when I showed up at her door. She took one look at my face, grabbed my arm, and pulled me inside. I had barely managed to choke out the words before she was already in motion, pouring me a drink, grabbing her laptop, and telling me to sit down. I sat at her kitchen table, scrolling through my phone with shaky hands. The evidence was all right there, more than I had even expected. Screenshots of messages, bank transactions, photos of him outside her apartment. Every new piece of proof I found was like a fresh stab in the chest. I wanted to throw my phone across the room, but instead I placed it on the table and exhaled. Megan slid a glass toward me. All right, she said, her voice steady. Tell me what you want to do. I met her gaze, my throat tightening. I want to ruin him. Her expression didn't change. She just gave a slow nod. Good. Let's make sure we do it right. Step 1, secure a lawyer. Megan knew someone, a no-nonsense divorce attorney who specialized in cases like mine. The next morning, I was sitting in her office, laying everything out. She barely blinked as she flipped through the documents, nodding occasionally, making notes. When she finally looked up, she folded her hands on the desk and gave me a small, satisfied smile. You have enough here to bury him, she said simply. Financial infidelity, extramarital affair, possible hidden assets. If we play this right, he's going to regret ever thinking he could do this to you. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was hollow. I had spent years with this man, trusting him, building a life with him, only to find out I had been nothing more than a joke to him and his mistress. But the pain was secondary now. I had a goal. I want to move fast, I said. I don't want him to see it coming. The lawyer nodded. Then don't say a word. Keep acting normal. Let me handle the rest. So that's exactly what I did. For the next few days, I played my part. I kissed my husband goodbye in the morning. I sent him texts asking how work was going. I listened to him spin excuses about late nights and extra projects. Every time he lied to me, it only fueled the fire burning inside me. He had no idea I knew everything. Step 2. Let Lisa know she wasn't untouchable. Megan and I spent an entire night crafting the perfect message. We wanted it to be just vague enough to rattle her, but not so aggressive that she could brush it off. When it was ready, I took a deep breath and hit send. Me. Hey, Lisa, remember that clueless wife you were laughing about? She knows everything. And she's about to make sure you regret it. We didn't have to wait long. A few minutes later, my phone lit up. Lisa. Who is this? Megan smirked. Oh, she's panicking. I typed my response carefully. Me. You know exactly who this is. Enjoy your time with him while it lasts. The read receipt popped up almost instantly, but there was no reply. Megan leaned back, satisfied. She won't be sleeping well tonight. Step 3. Set the final trap. I wanted to catch him red-handed. I didn't want there to be any room for excuses or denials, so I waited. It didn't take long. 2 nights later, he told me he was working late again, but instead of going home, I drove straight to Lisa's apartment. Megan was with me, parked down the street. We didn't have to wait long before his car pulled up. He got out, checked his surroundings like some secret agent in a bad movie, then disappeared inside. I felt sick watching it happen in real time. I had known for days now, had seen the evidence with my own eyes, but there was something about watching it unfold in front of me that made it feel even more real. But instead of breaking down, I hit record on my phone and documented everything. Megan placed a hand on my arm. Are you ready for this? I nodded, gripping my phone tightly. More than ever. She gave me one last look before stepping out of the car with me. We walked up to Lisa's apartment door, and without hesitation, I knocked. Silence. I knocked again, louder this time. Footsteps. A pause. Then the door cracked open just slightly, and there she was. Lisa, standing in the dim hallway, her face shifting from confusion to pure horror as she realized who was standing there. I didn't speak right away. I wanted to give her a second to let it sink in. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the door, her mouth opening slightly like she was about to say something. But what could she say? Megan crossed her arms beside me, tilting her head. Aren't you going to invite us in? Lisa inhaled sharply, stepping back, and that's when I pushed the door open the rest of the way. And there he was, my husband, standing in the middle of her living room, barefoot, shirt untucked, frozen in place like a deer caught in headlights. For the first time in our entire marriage, he was completely, utterly speechless. I lifted my phone, still recording. Smile, I said. This is the moment your life starts to fall apart. His face drained of color. Lisa took a step back like she wanted to disappear into the wall. Megan let out a slow breath beside me, nodding in approval. Oh, this is going to be fun. And that was when I pulled out the manila envelope from my bag. The divorce papers, the financial records, everything I had been waiting to throw right in his face. I tossed them onto the coffee table and watched as the reality of the situation finally started to hit him. The game was over. And now it was my turn to watch him crumble. Chris sat there, gripping the papers as if he could make them disappear just by holding them tight enough. His face had lost all color, and he looked like he was still trying to figure out how to talk his way out of this. Lisa, on the other hand, was still clinging to the idea that she had any control over the situation. This is ridiculous, she scoffed. You can't just take everything from him because your feelings are hurt. Megan let out a sharp breath and tapped her phone. I love when cheaters say stuff like this. Let me break it down for you, sweetheart. This isn't about feelings. This is about finances, assets, and consequences. And, surprise, surprise, My friend here? She played the long game. Chris finally managed to find his voice. You set me up? His eyes darted between me and Megan. You've been planning this? I leaned forward slightly. No, Chris, I just finally started paying attention. Turns out, once you stop trusting a man's words and start looking at his actions, the truth isn't hard to find. Lisa crossed her arms. So what, you think you won? You're getting the house, the money. What's next? Gloating on social media? I turned my attention back to Chris. Actually, I don't need to gloat. You'll do that for me when you're drowning in debt trying to explain to everyone why your wife left you with nothing but your name. His jaw tightened. You wouldn't do that. Megan grinned. Oh, but she already has. You didn't even read the whole thing, did you? Want me to summarize? Chris shook his head. But Megan continued anyway. Let's see. Full ownership of the house. Check. Bank accounts. Frozen. Pending divorce proceedings. Business assets. Well, those are complicated, aren't they? Since half of them were technically acquired during the marriage, my girl gets a cut of those too. Lisa turned to Chris, a hint of panic creeping into her voice. Tell me she's lying. Chris flipped through the papers, his hands shaking. The realization hit him all at once. How? How did you even... Megan leaned in like she was about to share a secret. Maybe next time, don't have a side piece who brags about being a home wrecker in public. Lisa looked furious. You're ruining his life over one mistake? One mistake? I repeated, shaking my head. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice, one you both made over and over again. Chris shoved the papers away. Fine. You want a war? You got one. Megan clapped her hands together. Oh, finally. I was hoping you'd be dumb enough to fight this. Please, drag this into court. Give us more time to dig through your finances. I'm sure we'll find even more surprises. Chris's entire posture changed. He sank back in his chair, rubbing his temples. He wasn't used to losing. Lisa was still clinging to whatever power she thought she had. He doesn't need you. He has me. Megan burst out laughing. Oh, sweetheart, if you think this man is about to start over from scratch for you, you're even dumber than I thought. Chris didn't say a word. Lisa turned to him, waiting for him to deny it, to say something, anything, that would prove Megan wrong. But he didn't. He just stared at the papers, probably realizing that his life was about to take a sharp downward turn. I stood up, grabbing my purse. We're done here. Lisa took a step forward, desperate now. You can't just walk away and act like you won. I glanced back at her. Oh, but I did. Chris didn't even look up as I walked out. Lisa, for all her bravado, stayed frozen in place. Megan followed me out, her heels clicking against the floor like the final nail in the coffin. As we stepped outside, she let out a satisfied sigh. That was fun. I looked up at the sky, feeling lighter than I had in years. It really was. And just like that, I walked away. For good.